all these people will come out and say, "See, I told you Gary wanted to blow up. I told you press the red button." And then you get to Be Serious making a video on how she read a book about it and how you've got to believe her because she read it in a book.
Well, it does make the difference. It's just an amazing argument, though. These people keep talking about how I'm the imposer, right? Because I'm arguing that people shouldn't impose life. And it's just such a joke in a way. I mean, they're the ones so confident to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to make more people. And it's like you can give them a ton of thought experiments. I mean, I thought of another thought experiment, just a simple one. Like you have a button in front of you, and every time you press the button, it creates 10 new happy people and one horribly miserable person. Okay, so that's all. It's just a 10 to 1 ratio. So it's a pretty simple equation. You're going to have 10 happy people and one miserable person. I mean, would you just sit around all day pressing the button thinking you were doing a good thing? Would you have any reason to press the button? I mean, it doesn't give you any cake, it doesn't give you a prize, it doesn't say thank you for pressing this button, so you get absolutely nothing from it. You're just making the decision to impose, to just create these extra 10 people for no good reason, and this one horribly miserable person.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I wouldn't be pressing that button at all.
Yeah, it's just so I just don't know why people can't deal with that argument. Just explain why they think they're competent before they experiment. Why do they think life inherently is good? I mean, just say it. I mean, you could say it. You could say you believe it, but explain it. They're just not willing to explain it.
Yeah, there's not been any opposing argument that has been able to even closely dismantle that. I mean, basically what they try to do is they just try to make it a personal thing, and they just kind of, they do this kind of all or nothing thing with you, and they accuse you of, wanting to do terrible things to people, and I think it's just not, it's avoiding the argument completely. I mean, I know that I wouldn't want more of me either, and that's why I didn't have kids. I don't want more of me.
Yeah, I mean, it just never even occurred to me to, you're just sitting there. I mean, right from the beginning, I knew that there was this, like, the idea of personhood. It was just the idea that I would feel so responsible for anything that went wrong. I mean, how could you possibly do that? How could you think of it any other way than to say, I'm going to be responsible for everything that happens to that person? And that was just so intimidating to me.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, I can honestly say that coming from a family in which I did, I think that had a lot to do with why I didn't want to even take the chance of recreating any of that dynamic, because I knew that somewhere along the line that what I learned, what I picked up from my parents, would go into the next generation, and I just couldn't handle that.
Yeah, it's like I grew up in like a perfect environment almost, but it's like even when I imagined it like that, like what if my kid was like my father or like my parents and my mother? I was like, well, they're boring. Why would I make more of them? I mean, I just didn't have any, you know what I mean? Even when I imagined it all working out well, I still couldn't imagine it working out well in that you didn't think it was realistic, like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a kid, he's going to be president. I mean, you didn't think that kind of way, you know what I mean? It's a realistic probability. And so you're saying, what would I want to be creating? I mean, exactly who on this planet would I make another one of? And even though I liked my parents, I couldn't, they were, like I said, they were kind of boring. I mean, why would I make more of them?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's the responsibility. You carry that responsibility, and it's just too much to carry it. I wouldn't want that responsibility.
Well, and also sort of figured too, especially as I got older, like by the time I was a teenager, I started thinking about the whole psychology dynamic. And so I said, okay, if I had a kid, he would be less depressed than me, or more confident, less insecure. And I said, yeah, well then it'd just turn into like a bully. Or it'd be like one of those jocks, one of those arrogant assholes, one of those full of himself shitheads. And I'd be like, I'd be totally embarrassed to have a kid like that. So then, I couldn't. It's like I still couldn't come up with any rationalization that said this is who I would want to create. You know what I mean? It's like I had no. I didn't even. As much as I knew all the downside liabilities, like what if he's born retarded? Even though that was horrifyingly scary, because I'd seen retarded. I babysat for a mongoloid kid. I mean, I've seen how bad things can go, and but even if I eliminated all the downside, I still couldn't even construct an upside. I mean, I couldn't even figure out how depressed or how insecure do I want him to be so he has character, yet confident enough to have a fun. You know what I mean? The psychological question was already impossible because I knew I was who I was because of the pain in a way, and I knew I wouldn't want my kid to go through that. But I also knew that that's the only thing that gave me any character was the fact that I did, haul newspapers around every afternoon, or I did have these other responsibilities that I acquired some sort of human character through, and that they were not positive experiences; they were mostly negative experiences.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything that's gotten me to this point was all due to, lots of pain and lots of suffering. And I don't want to put, I don't want to have a child and even think about having to watch my child have to go through that. And you're right.
Yeah, but it's sort of like inevitable, though. It's like if you're going to have a kid that you're going to like, he's going to have character. And the only way he's going to have character is you're going to have to let him be hurt. You're going to have to let it go through that learning process, of humiliation or disappointment, and all those things that suck are the things that generally speaking are that become the best part of you. It's not when everything works out and turns out wonderfully. Aren't the things that make you a better person. No, it's when shit goes really wrong that you're improved as a human being. And so again, you're stuck with that equation, like, oh yeah, no wonder why celebrities suck. They're kids. Yeah, okay, obviously, yeah, because they're too protected. They're too insulated from reality.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, I know, like, from watching the Osbournes, I couldn't even get through like 2 or 3 episodes of that show because the kids were just so, like, they were nuts. I mean, they just, they had no values, no nothing. It was just horrible.
Well, I'm just saying, especially the second generation. I mean, the spawn of the rich are, generally speaking, just complete garbage. And the more generations you get deeper, you get into it, the more, they become less and less. There's less and less character in these people.
I guess too, like you were saying before. What's up?
Yeah, I don't know which idiot that was, but whatever.
Well, like I was saying, it's a balancing thing, and I wouldn't want to, like, even if you tip the scale just a little bit in one direction or the other, it's too much of a risk.
Yeah, it's just an amazing amount of arrogance to say that we're the Nazis, we're the imposing, harsh, fanatical, fascist assholes, and they're the ones defending the imposition. They're the ones defending recklessness, and I mean, even Pyro's last video, I'm going to do a response to it, but I mean, he even says in the video, ha ha, even if you're right, I'm going to thwart you. And you're almost like, well, you know how idiotic that is, Piro? That's like if somebody was fighting for, like, to free the slaves, and you as the slave owner just said, well, if you free the slaves, I'll kill them. Okay, so go ahead and free them, and I'll thwart you because I'll murder the slaves before the law passes. Ha ha ha, there, I've destroyed you. I mean, what kind of bullshit is that? If I'm right, Pyro, then you're being a complete asshole. Okay, so you won't win because I end up being right, which means you're an asshole. So yeah, you personally win, okay, but anything decent that you could have believed in won't be winning.
Is that the video why I chose to procreate? Is that the video you're talking about?
No, it's his last video, which, let me think. Yeah, it's called something like 3M antinatalism, 3 a.m. on antinatalism. So it's in one of his drunken 3 in the morning videos.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's just really poor. It's not even an argument. I mean, I can't believe it's 11 minutes and 47 seconds, and it doesn't say anything in the whole video. Well, go watch a Professor Anton video. You want to see some incomprehensible commenting? Alright, there are whole paragraphs, and people are just saying, oh, Professor, you really nailed it right on the head. It is so amazing how the blah, 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 and then you just start reading, and you're saying, these words are connected, and they're sort of in a sentence structure, but what the fuck is this person talking about? I mean, they're not saying anything. It's just complete bibbly babbly. Well, the love is such an important component of the human destiny, of the future of our past, when we were once what we were, but now we're becoming the who we will be. And I mean, it's just like, holy shit, I can't believe, I mean, he has a whole, there's a whole, like, all of us have followers. There's the Mendamites, or there's Professor Antonarises, or Antonians, Professor Antonians. And they're just so full of this goddamn mush. I mean, they live for the mush. Pour me another bowl of that beautifully sweet gruel, dear Professor.
You know what I used to think he was called? Professor Rant On. Like, how can anybody listen to this and think it's halfway intelligent?
Yeah, I mean, all you do is need that extra R in there, Professor Ranton. It does work.
I mean, when I listen to his stuff, and admittedly I don't watch his videos. I watched like 2 of his videos when I discovered him, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy on? Like, he's just it's like a postmodern babble, I couldn't follow it. And now the only time I ever listen to him is when you do a response to him. And I'm like, how are you figuring out anything of what he's talking about?
Yeah, well, I'm often mystified.
Did you hear recently his latest video? He was talking about love.
Yeah, and it was quite amazing. I mean, he goes from reductionism to love. And it's like, I mean, how can you even put these things in the same conversation in the first place? Okay, because most reductionism is basically a scientific process, right? I mean, is there unscientific reductionism realistically? No, I mean, reductionism is Sherlock Holmes with his magnifying glass kind of thing. I mean, that's reductionism, right? I mean, dissect it, figure out how it works, be a mechanic, and then to throw a word like love in there. Now, what the hell? How do you even use the word love in any way? As I stated in my video, are there 2 people on Earth that have the same definition of the word love? I mean, realistically, I mean, isn't it the most arbitrarily, nonsensically defined word on planet Earth? Pierrot's in the room in full hippie gear. He's like ninja hippie. I'm ninja hippie, ninja hippie coming to defend the irrationalyites. The irrationalyites. I like that one.
It was weird, like we were talking about you and you just showed up, Carol. The Mendamites. And the pirouettes.
Yeah, or whatever. You know, Pierrot is doing that transition-y thing a little early. He's having that midlife crisis-y thing. Trying some different stuff, a few different drugs, seeing what works for him. So, you know, I have to cut him some slack. Yeah, whatever. Other people argue exactly the opposite, so there's no way to please people. But yeah, it has been kind of a lean night, I have to concede. Kind of all
What hippie thing?
But it's the women. The women makes it good, though.
It's what hippie thing. No, and I didn't have a midlife crisis per se because I melded it out. I started when I was 35. I figured, well, I'm rounding up to 40. So I got in early before it really struck. So by the time it struck, it was pretty ordinary.
Yeah, I know, but it's still
just a regular day, one weird day. That was it.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I still have the mark of Satan on you, or whatever you want to call it, because of this thing where you started smoking after the age of 30. I mean, nobody is that retarded. I mean, no. How many people on Earth do that? How many people on Earth say, "Oh yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about this smoking thing. I'll try it anyway."
43.
Yeah, I mean, why would somebody do that? Why the fuck would somebody do that? I mean, it's just like, holy shit, how desperate do you have to be?
Well, I mean, I had smoked in the sense that, like, at weddings and funerals, I would bum a few cigarettes. And so I thought I could handle it. I'd done that for 20 years, and it'd never been a problem. But I got a girlfriend where I ended up keeping her pack of cigarettes, and I thought I should get another one, and she didn't need it. And then after I finished those pack and a half myself, that was it. I started buying cigarettes. But also, you know, I thought I'd be able to quit, and, you know, I still think I will. But the other thing is, you know, I mean, I'm not an antinatalist, but I also do believe some of those arguments enough that, you know, it's not like just because it's dangerous or known to kill not a majority but a huge number of the people that do it doesn't mean that you can't do it. There's a lot of things like that that are still worth doing. So on the other hand, it has been really fucking crazy, and it was an eye-opener. I did not realize about this kind of addiction. I was more familiar with the mental addiction, like, you know, with some other drug or just coffee or just, you know, like you can be addicted to things. But this physical addiction, this heroin-like level that you have with tobacco, that was an eye-opener. I mean, in a way, I'm glad to have I wouldn't have understood. I would not have understood, even though I still was compassionate towards that kind of addiction. I believe people when they say, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I just can't really, you know, I'm just saying, I mean, I shouldn't pass judgment, obviously, because I've known for a long time how insidious, you know, I learned exactly, you know, very quickly, and, you know, holy shit, I'm addicted. So, yeah, that's really perverted my judgment, but it just seems like such a weird thing to pick up late in life, that's all. Because I understand.
Well, the other thing is, frankly, I had avoided it and had smoking friends and avoided it, and my mom had smoked, and I was exposed to it, and I had avoided it for all the smart reasons, hi Chris, that you should, until I was 38, so I figure most of the friends I know that have been struggling with it, they started at 14 and they're trying to stop. I'm starting at a point where if I give myself cancer, there's a good chance I'll already be dying of something else. The real problem with smoking is the regular breathing. You know, I've been smoking a couple years now, And so, you know, I have to clear my lungs and shuffle things around my lungs. And it's, that's the, you know, that, you don't have to wait for that.
It never bothered me that way. No, the only problem I had was the money. I mean, I just, you know, fuck, this is way too expensive. So that's the part that makes it even dumber. It's like, I got addicted when cigarettes were 33 cents a pack. You know, you got addicted when they were $4 a pack.
No, over here, no, they're like 8, and now they're 10.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No, over here.
Yeah, they're $10 here too, and that's the thing. I get native cigarettes, so I'm avoiding the price hiking stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's no way you can live that way. I couldn't live paying that kind of money, so yeah, just can't do it. So yeah, I guess I could argue with Pyro, or I could talk to Zombie. Let's see, should I argue with Pyro or talk to Zombie?
So I'll explain the hippie side, because I want to explain it. So, and it relates to a lot of this stuff. So the basic situation is just that my parents divorced when I was 3. My dad dropped out, tuned in, lived in teepee, various things like that. My mom did a more conservative, she joined the military for a while and worked, and I single mom with her, but I spent 3-month vacations with my dad living in teepees and stuff like this. So, you know, I grow my hair long in all summer and then go cut it short when I go home, and as I grew up, I kept the same thing. The only reason I don't grow my hair longer now, because I still do, I still wait 6 months to get a haircut, but it's just hot over here. It's not comfortable. I mean, aesthetically and everything else, in a basic way that longer hair feels. I'd still grow it down past my shoulders, then I'd cut it short, you know, cut my hair once a year, and it's no doubt from this kind of cycle as a kid. So it's definitely not a midlife thing, because no, I've always had it. If anything, I'm more straight now than hippie.
Yeah, no, I didn't figure you weren't, you know, a new hippie. I just was using that as a joke. But your whole philosophy has become. I mean, you were 2 years ago. You were less of a. I mean, you've gotten so liberal with your personal side of your philosophy, I guess is what I would argue. That, yeah, it's just showing.
I've been going through.
It's showing in every video now. It just didn't show in all your videos. It's showing in all of them now.
Well, one thing I always thought was interesting about you is that you called me phantasmagorical when I was saying very concrete things, but I mean, I always also thought there's a degree of insight to it, because my ideas compared to what you think is, you're wrong to call it that, but it is that, considering what you mean by that in certain respects. So, but I've been going through 5 points of my philosophy. When I realized you could do philosophy, instead of like blogging where it's on politics and it has to be high level, people are doing philosophy on YouTube. So since you can actually do philosophy, I have 5 points of philosophy, and I've been working through epistemological, and at the end it gets into the whole thing, and that's where we are now, and it's always been about everything.
But you don't pay any key to this word addiction, which, you know, is part of my 4 words. You know, you haven't debunked any part of that part of the equation. And you just said in your last video, and Barklord should correct your punctuation or whatever, your pronunciation. I mean, you said, what word did you use? Instead of using eternal optimist, you said something else. But anyway, there's no point in going into that. But yeah, what does that even mean?
No, I said terminal, and I meant that.
Well, terminal. How can you be a terminal optimist? Come on, what is that? That's a non sequitur. Terminal optimist.
I came up with that when I was about 25, and I was a lead programmer, and we were at this place that was going down the tubes, this startup, and it's struggling. We actually did make it through, and I got known as a terminal optimist. And the idea is that because optimism is a fatal disease.
Well, I'm just saying, who's going to know that from watching your video in the first place? Nobody. And isn't that just playing games with words? Let's ignore the reality. We won't say what that really means, which is futile optimism, pointless, idiotic, insane optimism, and we won't admit the truth, which is, yes, you're going to thwart me, even if I'm right, okay, by imposing life on people who didn't ask to be imposed upon. So, I mean, what the hell sense does that make? And you're going to call me the
I'll tell you.
You're going to call me the imposer because I'm daring to
I
say.
never called you a
Well, I'm
Nazi.
just saying
Don't say that.
you've implied it enough times. So yeah, you haven't said it directly.
I haven't. What are you talking about?
Well, whatever. I'm talking about. Well, I'm certainly talking about the commenters
But I
on
want to
this
be careful
video.
because you've had people say that to you. I've talked about those issues and they're very delicate, and I do pretty good making it clear. The closest I've said to that is that there's this thin sheet, which I think you don't violate. So I'm not calling you a eugenicist, but there is, it's difficult, like the staging. You have to keep this barrier because they have a similar idea, except for theirs is evil because they're just saying, we want to choose which ones to kill. Totally different because of that, and you don't violate that. Okay, so that's the closest I've come to that. The only Nazi thing I've run in lately is the objective negativity of suffering. If a Nazi breaks his foot, that's objectively good.
But it's not, okay? If it doesn't teach him a lesson. If the Nazi if it doesn't stop him from kicking the next Jew, so if he still kicks the same number of Jews, and if it doesn't get any of the Jews out of their circumstance, then it's just one more pain. It's just one more pile of suffering that serves absolutely no purpose. It's like torturing an axe murderer. Why would you do that? It's pointless. You're not going to bring back any of the dead people. It accomplishes nothing. So yeah, the suffering Nazi, this eye for an eye philosophy doesn't go anywhere. So you don't gain anything by the Nazi suffering unless he's going to learn from it. If he's going to learn, then suffering is good, and that's what I'm sort of arguing for. I'm saying you fuckers who are all supporting this random risk-taking, this fucking with other people's destiny game, well, yeah, the piano should be falling on you. If the pianos have to fall on somebody, if somebody has to get ALS, it should be you optimist fuckers who are endorsing the game playing. You should get the worst of the game then.
Well, I think I pretty much have, yeah, in a lot of ways. But on the other hand, I don't know. It depends.
Oh, trust me, it can get worse, Byro. When you think it's as bad as it's going to get, it can get worse. I've been there.
Well, I'm just saying that as an optimist, I do take the brunt. And I have the shoulder for the people that gave up but still wanted a paycheck, for example, in that last situation.
Well, I'm just saying, you really shouldn't make 3 a.m. videos because I'm going to cut you a new asshole on that last video you made because the arguments are so idiotic. I mean, oh yeah, even if you're right, I'm going to fucking make sure you're wrong. I'm gonna kill the slave. You want to free the slaves? I'm going to kill the slaves.
Well, Gary, you like to vent in your own way. And me, I went on to say, of course, I feel responsible to do better than that. But, you're calling me evil. You guys are taking all this higher ground to the point of where, no, you obviously haven't thought about it. And, yeah, I mean, I think it's worth pointing out that if you're stopped in your tracks, you want to act like I'm not giving your argument the time of day or haven't thought it through or won't give it time. And in reality, I don't have to give it time at all because your own philosophy is that I'm grandfathered in. You're not going to kill me or anybody else. So, so it's impotent. So, yeah, I am going out my way.
But it's not impotent because it's not a contest between you and me. It's a contest about who's going to be on what position on the playing field tomorrow. It's about the chessboard tomorrow, not today anyway. So we're not even, we're of course not at issue. I know, exactly, it's not a real argument, which is exactly my point. It's a pointless, useless tripe. Well, I know, but you're all preaching like this can't happen, right? That somebody can't make a logical argument and persuade human beings. And we all know that all you need is a certain number of human beings to say it. And once a certain number say it, the sheeple will follow along. We know that's how human psychology works. So it's like any other religion or any other kind of crap. If you get the right momentum at the right moment, okay, the point is, the only philosophies that are sure to fail are ones that have glaring errors of logic. So point out the glaring error in the logic of consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. And until you point out the glaring error in the fact that we are basically just attractive maggots, that you've lost the argument, because the logic is on the side of do no harm. The logic is on the side of first do no harm, and until you can demonstrate some reason why you should risk doing harm, you're going to lose the logical argument.
Well, it's because I think we're at the point of discussing we're at whatever point anybody wants to do. But to me, we've dug down to a point where we have to discuss the practicalities. I'm willing to grant, for the sake of argument, some things as practical. Like, let's say you do convince everybody to be non-reproductivist, whether it's antinatalism or whatever the argument, so they don't do that. Well, there's going to be suffering, right? That we've talked about. It becomes a practical thing. If you cannot find any way from here to there that doesn't violate the reason you're going there. So, for example, everybody growing old and running out of able-bodied nurses the last 20 years, that's a problem. That would be a lot of suffering. So can you really avoid suffering with this idea? Becomes the topic. And mostly, I haven't really pointed that out to you guys. I did in a video to Barklord, commiserating with somebody else that also sees it as impossible, because there's this other issue for us, that if it's not possible to do, then what is the real end result? The end result is thinking life is crap and living anyway, and that doesn't seem very motivational. I don't make that argument to you because I know you're not going to buy that's not a good thing because it lowers your self-esteem, because you're just going to say, well, your self-esteem should be crap. But, there's motivational issues like that for the rest of us to study and trying to explain what the impact of your ideas are. And it's because we're interested in them. That's good that people are interested in ideas.
Well, first off, the truth, it should be quite irrelevant what the personal impact of the truth is. So if it's the truth, it's the truth, and should be respected. So that really shouldn't. If you're going to sit there and argue that our philosophies should match our lifestyle, should be convenient to our lifestyle, well, then we're not doing philosophy anymore. We're doing something entirely different. So I want this.
But I didn't say that.
Well, I'm just saying that argument's out there. Okay, Barklord is basically making that argument. Okay, he's covering his fucking ears and saying, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, because I can't live it anyway.
Right, okay, that's somewhat, I could see that. I won't try to defend him on that. I see why you're saying that. I disagreed with him a little bit too in some of the stuff that he said, but in that kind of respect. But my take on that side is that it is interesting. I found my truth because I think it is the truth, and then it still remains to think, well, what's the impact of that idea, and how are people, as far as I'm concerned, everybody has false ideas. We all live. Some false ideas might make you live a little better. You never know. So there's these secondary issues to look into, and to me, that is an interesting issue.
I'm conceding also that there is an equation here. Like I said, if it was your job tomorrow to attack malaria, how would you do it? Would you attack, trying to put people in nets to prevent them from getting bitten by mosquitoes, or would you try to kill mosquitoes, or would you try to kill the bacteria itself? And you'd have to make a decision. Where are you going to waste your resources? Are you going to go for the cure, which might be a 1 in a million chance? Are you going to go for I can definitely help some people right now, the Band-Aid, but you know that the future is still at jeopardy because you haven't solved the problem. Okay, so you're going to have new victims tomorrow. The victims are going to keep growing. And I'm just going to argue that, when you say things in a video like, oh yeah, we should have people who go out and shoot, elephants with broken legs. I mean, get the fuck real. I mean, come on. We can't you can't get the streets clean, and you're gonna have fucking human beings going around, being guardians for baby elephants. I mean, that isn't gonna fucking happen, and you goddamn know it. We're not even close to that.
We're plenty wealthy enough for that.
Oh, I'm not going to argue with you, Pyro. We can't even stop human children from getting totally fucked over.
No, but okay, I'm just going to say, we send trillions of dollars to go shoot people who don't have broken legs. Yeah, it could be done. There's the resources. We're just that stupidly doing it. I mean, the biggest argument that we're not going to get better is because how are we going to solve this whole war thing? and the war culture that humans have. And it is going to solve itself at one point by we will just strike ourselves down. Maybe all the way
Well, we're not
down.
going to strike ourselves down, though. That's the whole point. See, the point is you think you have the optimistic position in investing in this hope thing. And what I'm saying to you is either we die gracefully or we die ugly. Those are our two choices here. We're going to die as a race miserably, radioactive, the worst, slowest destruction of civilization, a horrid, disgusting future, a black, dark world, the Postman, Mad Max, ugly, disgusting world that the human race is going to be stuck in, or we can gracefully get out of this nonsense, addictive game. And those are going to be our two choices. We'll be powerless, powerless maggot cockroach humans who can't do anything about anything, or we can be intelligent Vulcan-like humans who do the logically right thing and say, yes, we've been addicted long enough, let's let this bullshit go.
Well, it seems to me that the path where you're talking about goes through the same thing I want to do. I don't want to take it the step after that you're saying, but you would have to do it smoothly. You would have to have the social infrastructure. You would have to have hospitals so good that you could take care of yourself in them when you were 80 and dying, and the few ambulatory. You would have to have the social infrastructure. So we do that first, clean that up, and then when everybody can calm down and not be chased around like slaves, they will be rational, and if the rational decision is the antinatalist conclusion, then they would make it then, and they would have the means, because they would obviously have assisted suicide and all the rest, because that's a part of compassionate infrastructure, right?
Yeah, I know, but none of that's, we can see that road is not going to be paved with optimism. It's going to have to be paved with something else. And I think it's got to be paved with a hard realism that this is the blight of this life thing. It's like how, it's again, you got this problem of like kids with leukemia or kids with real sicknesses and stuff. What's the more sensible thing to do? Prepare them to die, or force them to go through 2 years of bone marrow transplants and all kinds of other nonsense and insidious experiments? I mean, one thing is so simple, so easy, is give them a graceful exit. No, let's torture them instead. So again, I'm going to argue with you that the simple solution to the aging population isn't to find machines that'll wipe people's asses. No, it's to find a few little words that'll give people the ability to let go at a reasonable point in their life and not be terminally optimistic. We don't need terminally optimistic lunatics who can't let it go running around planet Earth.
Well, you do not need me either. I mean, I'm not caught being a problem. I'm saying take my misery out of your equation and I'll handle it.
But you're not going to handle it. You're going to handle it. You're talking about social infrastructure that's going to feed your terminal desires, and that's just not going to work. You want too much out of life, and there's no way, like I said, there's no way we're giving the people in the Congo air conditioning. There's no way they're going to have civilization. Who's going to pay for it? You're not going to pay for it. So it's not going to happen.
Civilization pays for itself. What are you talking about? You develop a place and they build the shit themselves. People can build that. They just need the education and tools and opportunities.
No, they need fuel. They need fuel.
That's your problem. Seriously, it's rude. They have been, not to me, but to them, they have been held down. Africa has been held down. They have plenty of clean water. They just need fucking wells. It costs, $10 billion probably to give them fucking simple-ass wells. We do a war that costs way more than that. That's the fucking problem.
We can't even manage our own aquifers, okay? We've sucked them fucking dry in this country and haven't taken any responsibility even for that. All right? All the oil is drying up every fucking day. It's drying up, Piero. We are past peak oil. Okay, this energy thing is going to get more and more expensive, which means food's going to get more and more expensive. So there's just, I'm all, look, you know it. I'm all for getting, killing the rich. All right, but even with all the rich man's money, you still aren't going to have the resources to give everybody civilization. There's too many fucking people.
fucking people. You know what? I am for. We talked about the capping. There's various socialist things that are somewhat, which definitely strike some people as taking the wealthy man's money. But the funny thing about looking at the war budget in the world, and ours is so huge that if we changed it, we'd change the world's whole war budget. Our ratio. If we just went down to what other countries do per capita, it would change, I think it would be half or something, or less than the total amount worldwide now. So if you look at that money, that's not even the rich man's money. That's just all of the money we've been pooling together. That's the money we're supposed to be giving each other, unemployment insurance benefits and medicine. I mean, that's what that's for. We all kiddied up some money, and they're like, we're going to go kill people with it. And like, could you not? No, we have to.
The point is, though, infrastructure isn't inexpensive, and the more you build, the more fuel it demands. Okay, that's why China and India, their demand curve has gotten almost, a vertical line. All right, that's not sustainable. Okay, civilization at those population numbers is not sustainable.
But what do you mean? Infrastructure is expensive stuff. I agree. In some, like, how much does stuff usually cost me? But then again, it's for a group of people. But compared to war, I mean, obviously we're not.
Well, again, I'm not going to argue the war equation. All for saving all for saving. Like, even if we spent $1 trillion a year, which we don't, but we, who knows with the CIA and all the other crap that goes on. And you just count the waste. If you count the stuff we're blowing up as also being real dollars, then yeah, maybe it is $1 trillion a year. Yeah. So, but even if you kept that $1 trillion, okay, it's just not enough for a world with 7 billion people in it. It's too many fucking people. So this is the primary. The only hope is through depopulation. That's the only way you can even do this yellow brick road of optimism thing. It has to go, okay, through the forest of depopulation. If you don't reduce population, you're